What is something R25 King101 here? Welcome to my second F1C15 video. At last, Codemasters has now released a trailer, a quick teaser trailer of the game, 23 seconds long. Nothing, doesn't really show much, but at least it does show some gameplay. Of what the game looks like and all that kind of stuff, really. And first of all, I just want to apologise for late uploads. Well, not uploads at all, really. I've been studying for my exams. My exams are pretty much over now, so I thought I might as well start uploading a bit more now. Just to chill out a bit. And yeah, hoping to do it on my exams to get into uni. But we see what happens with that. So basically today's video we are going to be going over the trailer. First of all, we're going to be playing the trailer in full, and then copyright intended, by the way. And then we'll be going through the trailer picture by picture, really, scene by scene, relevant scenes anyway. Some of them do repeat itself, so I won't be going over them, and some scenes just pretty much show nothing. So I won't be going over them. Right, they're just the main pictures which I feel. Main bits of the trailer which I feel like are relevant, and then after that I'll be going over some other pictures which have been released not in the trailer but were released in the Codemasters blog, which was released at the same time as the trailer itself by Lee Williams, I believe his name is. I just pretty much thought of that in my head and write it down, so I apologise if I got that wrong. But anyway, let's go over the trailer quickly, and yeah, here we go.
Peggy 3.
And 23 seconds flash by without you even knowing it. It did go pretty quickly. It pretty much was a flash of light, and you were thinking, what was that? But yeah, this is the first proper bit of gameplay that we saw. This is the stadium section around the Mexico GP track. Of course, we know that such a long. This is the first time. 2015 will be the first year since we've seen Mexico Grand Prix. Actually, I don't really know when it was the last time, but I believe it was in the 90s. That was the last time we saw the Mexico GP, and this is part of it. And it doesn't really show much, to be honest. I mean, it does look good. I know this is the next gen console, but not much has changed. The lighting, the textures, the crowd. I mean, the crowd details look better. I could probably see that. And I don't really know what the flag's supposed to be on the left in front of the lights. I don't really know. It looks like Abu Dhabi or something like that, but I don't even know why I'm saying that. But yeah, it doesn't really show much, if I'm honest. As we do see later on in the trailer, we will be able to see a lot more in terms of the gameplay and the details and that. So yeah, let's go on to the next scene. Now, the next picture is pretty much possibly one of the most important of the trailer, and indeed of the game, pretty much, because this shows one of the key new features that have been added to this game. It is the grid. You'll actually now be able to see the grid, pre-race of the cars on the grid, possibly lining up on the grid. With their engineers, with the drivers, the engineers walking around the car, making sure the car's ready. The drivers walking about, talking to the media. You could see people taking photos of the cars. I mean, pretty much exactly what it's like before the start of the race on the grid. Yeah, they probably would add Martin Brundle and Eddie Jordan, David Coulthard, but I don't think they'll go into that much detail. But if they do it, I would be absolutely amazed. But yeah, this you can see in this picture specifically. This is the Australian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen has been interviewed by the media. And don't really know who that is. Possibly, well, it's official F1. Possibly, they probably don't have the license to include Sky Sports F1. They might do in the future, just like what Sky Sports is doing in FIFA. Codemasters might do the same for Sky Sports F1 by incorporating them into the game, which would be really good to see, and well, very much would add to the realism. But this game doesn't really show in terms of much detail, but it's basically one of the main features. But one thing that I can see definitely is, well, the lighting changes, but also that the characters and the 3D models of the mechanics and pretty much everyone that you can see has improved a lot, making it look much more realistic and pretty much suitable for the next generation of gaming. So let's go on to the next picture, which is this one. This is a little bit irrelevant. Basically just showing the Red Bull statue at the Red Bull ring in Austria. You know, it does look beautiful. It does look pretty nice. But the one thing that caught my eye is the background. I mean, you see the forest, the weather, the clouds, the houses in the background. I mean, they did pay a lot of attention to detail on the background environment as well as the track itself and everything else in it. But you could say that is a little bit relevant, this picture, because it doesn't really show much. But it could be good for anyone who is new to F1 and wants to see, apart from the cars themselves and the drivers, what else is interesting on the track itself. And well, this certainly is one of them, as well as the next picture, which shows the Silverstone wing, which is the pit, well, pretty much the pit garage. But also this does show a really nice sun flare, which does look pretty good. Well, we've seen sun flares on well, lensing or whatever you want to call it. Let's just call it a flare. But you can see them in F1 2014, pretty much all the other F1s as well, but especially F1 2014. But this one does look especially nice, but yet again, pretty much a pointless picture. The next picture is Monaco. It's, well, pretty much the Grand Prix where I am recording at right now. Where Lewis Hamilton took his pole position, first time ever. One thing which you can clearly see is that where the hell are all the boats? Because definitely Monaco is a lot busier with a lot more boats and a lot more people standing on them. Now, obviously, I don't want naked women just standing on boats and that kind of stuff, because you would see that kind of stuff in Monaco. But apart from the boats, I mean, the water looks nice. You can't really see much of the track. The trees and the shadow of the trees, I mean, you can't really see them. They just look like they're just floating in midair. Well, sort of floating on the track because there's no shadows to prove that they are there in a three-dimensional space. But in terms of the buildings, really nicely done. I do recognise some of the buildings, in fact. And also the background, you can see right in the very background of the picture. But yeah, it does show much, but it does show to Codemasters that there is room for improvement in terms of detail. Now, the next picture is possibly one of my favourite. I mean, look at that detail. This is Roman Grosjean walking to his car. Don't really know what Grand Prix this is, but my god, look at that detail. I mean, Codemasters, round of applause to you. Probably isn't that loud, by the way. But round of applause to you, because that is unbelievable detail. I mean, I'm probably taking this too far by saying that. I mean, oh my god, so much detail. But I mean, look at the lighting, the texture of the characters off Roman Grosjean's helmet and his base suit, and also that other person who doesn't really look like a mechanic, possibly some media guy. But yeah, he does look, I mean, beautiful is the only one I could say. The lighting, it's just beautiful. That is all I can say about that. Next picture is another interview one of Lewis Hamilton. That grandstand looks familiar. I believe it might be Hungary. I might be wrong about that. I don't think that is Australia. But it could be. It could be Australia. It could be anything else. But I believe it might be Hungary. This is another one clearly showing the interview aspect of F1, and what I really hope that Codemasters incorporate is bring the interviews back to F1. Last time we've seen this was in F1 2011, but the proper interviews were in F1 2010, and really, well, this pretty much shows, and hopefully shows, that Codemasters are bringing the interviews back to the game, so that before the race starts, David Croft or some other media people or other media personnel will be talking to you, asking you questions about how you will perform in the race. What does the looks like it might rain in the race? Does this worry you, etc., etc.? Do you think that the tires will last as long as they did in practice? They might not go into that much detail, but you never know. I mean, this is Codemasters, they can make anything happen. And then also another thing, if you look to the top left, where the flags are, I mean, you do see Brazil just off shot, and then Great Britain, and then Spain. They've got the little symbol thing, the little badge thing, at the left of the Spanish Grand Prix Spanish flag. The Indian flag, I don't really know why the Indian flag is there, to be honest. Probably it's a World Championship, so I suppose why that's the reason why it's there, even though there's no Indian Grand Prix now. But the other flag next to that, I mean, it could be a shadow. I mean, that looks like Hungary, but that little black spot there, hopefully that's a shadow. If it isn't, then that's terrible vending from Codemasters. Sorry if I do sound a bit nasally. I do have a blocked nose, I'm trying to fight it. But anyway, the next picture is the back end of the McLaren Honda. Now this is the first picture that we've seen, well, this is the first part where we actually see a car properly, and you can see the heat, that the heat, I don't really know what you call it, well, the heat lensing, that the actual heat of the exhaust, the emissions that are coming out of the exhaust, the gases that are coming out of the exhaust actually reflect the light and bend the light so that the image becomes distorted when you look at them. I mean, you could definitely see that it's a lot more shinier, the lighting has more effect, the shadows are better, the detailing of the exhaust themselves are better. I mean, you could obviously see that the double wishbone that they've been running last year as well. In fact, that's another thing, because I haven't actually looked at this yet. I can't remember seeing that in the new McLaren, in the brand new McLaren. I mean, obviously you've seen them back in 2014, that was pretty much the first year that they were using them. But in 2015, I can't really remember, to be honest. I need to have a wee look at that. But anyway, the next bit. This is, it looks like Pastor Maldonado, I think. Or, well, obviously either Roman Grosjean or Pastor Maldonado. In the pits, you can see that the mechanics, yet again, Codemasters have paid more attention into the detailing of the mechanics and the pit crew. They do look, the textures do look a lot more smoother, the lighting looks a lot better as well. This doesn't really show much, but it's a nice wee touch from Codemasters. Now this is a picture, you could sort of say a pointless picture of Sebastian Vettel putting his lots of words there, putting his helmet visor down so that he concentrates on the race, and that's a pretty smooth touch that Codemasters put in. Hopefully we can see that in the actual like scenes that we see before the race and qualifying and that kind of stuff. Hopefully we can actually see that in the game. And another thing that we can actually notice is the reflection of the cars are a lot stronger compared to the previous F1 games, and this clearly shows that the Codemasters are really starting to get used to the new power of the next generation consoles, and that they now pretty much shows what the next generation consoles are capable of and what Codemasters can do to make the most of them, which unfortunately they weren't able to with the previous generation consoles. Now this is the first picture that we've seen of the cars actually on track. This is Felipe Massa versus Jenson Button going out of the second Lesmo in Monza on the first DRS straight towards the Ascari chicane in the wet, and it looks amazing. I do really like the detailing. The lighting is a bit darker, and this does look like it is heavy rain conditions, because I can pretty much just about see that as blue markings on the tires, which means that the drivers are on full wets, which means that there's heavy rain. And the lighting does seem a bit more darker, well, you could say sinister if you want, but does look pretty good. I mean, and the trailer does look better, but because it still is a bit bloody, a bit more bloodier than it should be. But yeah, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, the spray coming out of them the spray does look a lot more effective and looks a lot stronger compared to previous F1 games. We can see that huge spray. I mean, obviously that isn't just from these two cars, the Williams and McLaren, but from the huge queue of cars going all the way back to the second Lesmo. But the spray does look really nice, and well done to Codemasters on that. Now this is possibly another favourite picture of the game. Ah, that's what my head in. This is around Abu Dhabi. This looks like it is this first corner. But I actually just noticed that. It looks like these cards going wide. This we are on board Jensen Button. Um, and he's against another Williams, possibly Felipe Massa. But one thing that you have to notice is look at the lighting reflections on the McLaren. Now, Codemasters have confirmed, this was on their blog post, that the game will launch with pre-season liveries, so that the new updated McLaren that we've seen, the new updated McLaren livery that we saw in the Spanish Grand Prix right up to the end of the season, well, we were expecting that anyway, will not come up until a future update. So yeah, so we will be looking at the previous livery which you've seen during testing and all the way up to the Bahrain Grand Prix. I believe it is. Yes, it is. I think so. And yeah, the lighting reflects. I mean, the McLaren pre-season was the shiniest car on the grid because obviously it had that mirror-like paint job, and you can clearly see that it works an absolute treat on the lighting. Looks really good. Actually, reminds me a little bit of F1 2012 and 2013, where the cars were really reflective on them, and I mean the helmet as well. I mean, it just makes me so happy just watching this. I know it sounds a bit gay, but yeah, I'm so happy. Another picture is this, and this looks like Singapore. You can see Jensen Button, and I don't really know who that is. I think that might be Sergio Perez behind him in the Force India. Now, I was actually surprised. I mean, the amount of detail that went into this, because that looks a lot more real life. I mean, that literally, you could pretty much put them side by side, a real life picture versus a game picture, and I think you wouldn't really be able to tell the difference. I mean, the Codemasters has done a huge amount of work, and it definitely looks like it's paid off because the detailing and the graphics and the lighting and everything else just looks unbelievable. They've done a huge amount of work, and well, you could say I'm a bit speechless at this. I'm actually smiling just looking at the picture. Yes, I know it sounds a bit gay, blah blah blah. But yeah, I'm real happy, and I'm hoping that we'll see more of this kind of stuff in the future before the game releases, indeed when the game releases. Now, this is another picture of on board the Toro Rosso. I have no idea who it is, but this is going around turn 3 around Silverstone in the heavy rain, pretty much showing yet again the amazing weather system that they've got. Codemasters has got. Sorry about the feedback, by the way. It's my phone. Let me just turn my phone away. You shouldn't be able to hear it anymore. Yeah, again, sorry about that. Just again showing the amazing weather effect that they've got on this game. I think possibly one of the best weather systems I've ever seen in any game, not only racing game, but any game in fact. I even think that this looks better than Project Cars. Honestly, I honestly believe that this looks better than Project Cars. Possibly the only thing that looks better than than Project Cars, but yeah, it looks better than Project Cars nonetheless in my view. The weather effects look even better on next generation, and also the cars looking beautiful too. Now, this I think is the last picture that we'll look through. Well, the last gameplay picture anyway. Another picture showing the weather effect. This is at night at Singapore. Just like the one with Jensen Button and Sergio Perez. This is we can see it looks like Daniel Ricciardo going past. I think that is going. Well, that's the little mini straight before you go under the little bridge. When you turn left, can't really. Well, obviously I wouldn't think of the many corners that is, but but that's a part of the track, Sector 3 of Singapore. And the weather effect, the raindrops in the camera looks beautiful, the reflection, obviously you can see a lot better reflection of the track because it's wet. And the cars look beautiful as well. You can actually see that the cars look distorted. You can see some bits well, the raindrops that are covering the car, that are distorting the light on them. Well, they would just say that again. They're distorting the light coming off the cars, which looks pretty good. Now, this is the last picture. Well, sort of the last picture. This, obviously, F1 2015, race like a champion. That's pretty much their main slogan of the game. Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PS, PC, DVD-ROM, Steam, blah blah blah. But the main thing that we have to look at is the release date, the 10th of July 2015. Finally, that's been confirmed. Well, to be honest, on Codemasters sort of have announced before that the game was supposed to come out in the 12th of June. And I thought that that even though we haven't, I mean, it was before there was a late announcement that they were releasing the game that quickly. And I was thinking, really, Codemasters? I mean, are you messing with this? I mean, are you really are you really releasing a game that you just, well, obviously we knew that F1 2015 was going to come out. The only question was what was going to be in it and when was it going to be released, and I was quite surprised about how quickly they were actually going to be releasing this game. But it turns out that they were a bit too ambitious, and they rolled the release date forward to nearly a month, so 10th of July instead of 12th of June, which is slightly disappointing, and a lot of people are actually annoyed. I've noticed in the front row racing and on Twitter that a lot of people are angry that Codemasters hasn't apologised about this, and they haven't even said anything about the release date. Well, they haven't even warned, well, you can say warned us about the release date. To me, well, I'm hoping that won't be something like Project Cars. Project Cars was supposed to come out in November 2014, and then they delayed it to March 2015, and then delayed it again to April, and then finally it was released in May. Hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully 10th of July will actually be a proper release date for it. It certainly looks like by the pictures that the game is pretty much ready, but obviously they probably still got some stuff to do in terms of trying to make the game run as fast as possible. Well, we're predicting 1080p, 60 frames per second on the PS4, and slightly worse on the Xbox One. It's just as the case. Microsoft concentrated on making the Xbox One an entertainment system instead of a games console. As a result of that, the games do not look and run as well, don't run or look as good as they do on the PS4. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. Obviously, they look much better on the PC, but that's to be expected. I don't really mind about. Personally, I don't really mind that the game is coming out a month later than it should have. It means that Codemasters have now got the chance to make sure that they've got the game spot on out of the box. Obviously there might be some bits here and there, but I'm really hoping that it's pretty much the perfect F1 game out of the box, and I'm really looking forward to playing it. So that's the end of this teaser trailer review, if you want to call it that. Personally, out of 10, I would probably, well, thinking that as a teaser trailer, I would probably score the trailer out of 10, possibly an 8 or a 9. I mean, the cars, and especially in the rain, I mean, the cars look beautiful, the effects look beautiful. But I would have wanted to see a bit more gameplay, a bit more of what the menus look like, and I'm hoping that they'll do something to what they did back in 2010 and 2011, that pretty much are dev diary, so that you can actually listen to the developers talking about what they've improved in the game, what they've added to the game, and pretty much letting them show us what the menus look like, so that we've got a much better idea of what the game looks like, what is to be expected when we play the game ourselves. Hopefully they'll do something like that. We haven't really heard anything about that, but well, anyway, they've got more than a month to do that, so anything's possible. Well, anything's possible anyway. Well, I don't know what to say there. But anyway, that's been the end of this video, guys. Hoping to release more videos regarding 2015 as we come nearer to the release date, and hoping to upload some videos generally anyway. So yeah, that's the end of this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. This has been GT5K101, and we shall see you later.